The Corinthian dominion had ruled the Outer Arm for 3,000 cycles. Their empire stretched across 47 star systems, each one conquered through a simple, brutal strategy: silence, then subjugation. When the Dominion discovered Earth's first interstellar colony on Kepler 442b, they followed their ancient protocol. Gravitational dampers were deployed around the system, creating a field that distorted space-time itself. Every electromagnetic wave, every quantum entanglement signal, every method of communication humanity had developed, all of it died at the barrier. The colony of 12,000 souls screamed into the void, and the void swallowed their voices whole. Commander Voshitar stood on the bridge of the Dominion flagship, his four eyes gleaming with satisfaction as the dampers activated. In his 3 centuries of service, he had overseen the silencing of 18 civilizations. Humans would be no different. They will panic, he told his crew. They will despair, and when we arrive in 6 cycles to claim their world, they will surrender without firing a single shot. This is the way it has always been. But Voshitar had made a critical error. He had studied human history, their wars and their art, their governments and their philosophies. What he hadn't understood was humanity's most dangerous trait, their tendency to assume the worst and prepare for it anyway. Earth's Colonial Defense Initiative had been established precisely for this scenario. When Kepler 442b missed its first scheduled check-in, alarm bells rang across 3 continents. When the second check-in failed, fleets were mobilized. By the third missed transmission, humanity knew. Someone had silenced their children. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the war room beneath Geneva, staring at the holographic display of known space. 52 ships. That was all Earth could spare without leaving the home system defenseless. 52 ships against an unknown enemy that possessed technology capable of blocking every form of communication humanity had invented. They want us deaf and blind, she said quietly. They want us to assume our people are dead, that there's nothing we can do. Her jaw tightened. They don't know us very well. The fleet departed within 48 hours. No time for ceremony, no time for speeches. The crews knew what silence meant. They had all seen the historical records of civilizations that disappeared without a trace, of colonies that went dark and were never heard from again. Every man and woman aboard those ships carried the same cold fury in their hearts. The journey took 5 months. 5 months of drills, of simulations, of preparing for an enemy they knew nothing about. 5 months of silence from Kepler 442b that grew heavier with each passing day. When they arrived at the system's edge, they found the dampers. Massive constructs, each the size of a small moon, floating in a perfect grid around the system. Admiral Chen studied them through the view screen and smiled. A predator's smile. They built walls, she said. They thought walls would be enough. The Dominion had indeed made an error. They had assumed that a species capable of interstellar travel would be deterred by mere isolation. They had not considered that humanity had spent 10,000 years developing weapons designed to break through any defense. Chen's fleet didn't try to communicate. They didn't send warnings or demands. They simply opened fire. Kinetic impactors moving at 0.8 C struck 3 dampers simultaneously. The constructs, designed to manipulate electromagnetic fields, had no defense against simple mass moving at relativistic speeds. They shattered like glass and a small gap opened in the cage. It was enough. Through that gap poured 52 human warships, and behind them came the signal. A single transmission that Kepler 442b had been waiting 6 months to receive. "We heard you. We're here." The Dominion fleet, confident in their dampers, had only 12 ships in the system. They scrambled to respond, but they were designed for subjugation, not warfare. Humanity's ships were different. They were built by a species that had invented the atomic bomb before achieving spaceflight, that had militarized orbit before colonizing it, that had learned to kill efficiently long before learning to live peacefully. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, 11 Dominion ships were destroyed and 1 was captured, along with Commander Voshitar. They brought him to Admiral Chen's flagship. The Corinthian commander stood tall despite his restraints, his 4 eyes defiant. "You are an anomaly," he said. "Every other species we have silenced accepted their fate. They mourned, moved on, or collapsed inward. You came with violence." Chen stepped closer, her voice cold as deep space. "You made a mistake, Commander. You studied our wars and thought you understood us, but you missed the most important lesson." She gestured to the viewport where human ships were towing the remains of the dampers away, where shuttles descended to Kepler 442b below. We don't abandon our own, ever. Send a message back to your dominion to every empire that thinks silence is strength. Tell them that if they block even one human transmission, we will answer with a fleet. Voshitar was silent for a long moment. Then quietly, I will tell them, but I do not know if they will believe me. They will, Chen said, because you're going to show them the recordings of this battle, and you're going to tell them what happened when they tried to make humanity go quiet. She turned away, then paused. Silence is a weapon, Commander. But so is noise. And humans have always been very, very loud. The Dominion received Voshtar's message 3 weeks later. Within 6 months, they had begun dismantling every damper in their territory. Within a year, they had proposed a non-aggression treaty with Earth. They had learned what 18 other civilizations had not lived long enough to discover. Humanity's love for its people burned hotter than any star, and its memory lasted longer than any empire. Silence them, and they would answer with thunder. The age of easy conquest was over. Humanity had made sure of that.